I'm Isaac, and every day on this channel we cover everything Donald Trump said on Truth Social over the last 24 hours. Today was a very controversial day. A lot happened in Congress, starting with a ruling on Trump's Canadian tariffs. So let's take a look. Trump says that Canada has taken advantage of the United States on trade for many years. He says they are among the worst in the world to deal with, especially as it relates to our northern border. Tariffs make a win for us easy. Republicans must keep it that way, President Donald J. Trump. Well, the Republicans did not keep it that way. The House ruled against Trump's Canadian tariffs, banning them outright with a 218 vote against Trump's tariffs. That means that 6 Republicans flipped against Trump's tariffs. And Trump was not too happy about that, saying any Republican in the House or the Senate that votes against tariffs will seriously suffer the consequences come election time. And that includes our primaries. Our trade deficit has been reduced by 78%. The Dow Jones just hit 50,000 and the S&P 7,000. All numbers that were considered impossible just 1 year ago. In addition, tariffs have given us great national security because the mere mention of the word has countries agreeing to our strongest wishes. Tariffs have given us economic and national security, and no Republican should be responsible for destroying this privilege. President Donald J. Trump. And so just to be clear, these tariffs are not banned. Canadian tariffs still exist because this hasn't passed the Senate. The Democrats need a 60-vote majority in order to overcome the filibuster, but we'll see if that happens. I'm thinking it might. And it was a big day for Congress. But before we get into that, let's look at this post from the White House that says only American citizens should decide American elections. Well, so what are they referring to? Well, it's the Save America Act. The White House says voter ID equals basic election integrity. Americans agree. Now it's time for the Senate to act. And they say urge your senator to pass the Save America Act. And that's because the Save America Act has passed the House and is now headed to the Senate. The White House says it's one step closer to securing America's election with common sense reforms, proof of citizenship to register an ID to vote. And Trump reposted all those. And yesterday there was also a massive hearing. It was very controversial with AG Pam Bondi. And she testified in front of Congress about Epstein. Trump comments on this saying, AG Pam Bondi under intense fire from the Trump deranged radical left lunatics was fantastic at yesterday's hearing on the never-ending saga of Jeffrey Epstein, where the one thing that has been proven conclusively, much to their chagrin, was that President Donald J. Trump has been 100% exonerated of their ridiculous Russia type charges. Actually, it's the slimeball Democrats, many of them big donors and politicians, that have been proven guilty. Republican loser, sanctimonious rhino Congressman Thomas Massie made a total fool of himself yesterday, fighting aimlessly against a hopeless agenda of hate and stupidity, as most clearly stated by his crashing job approval numbers in the great Commonwealth of Kentucky, where military hero opponent the great Ed Galliran is crushing him in the polls. He is now in wacky Liz Cheney territory. Nobody cared about Epstein when he was alive. They only cared about him when they thought he could create a political harm to a very popular president who has brought our country back from the brink of extinction, and very quickly at that. In fact, this attempt by the Democrats to take away attention from the tremendous Republican success is backfiring badly. Maybe they should focus on their quest to open our borders to the world's greatest criminals, have transgender for everybody, or get men, no matter their size or strength, to play in women's sports. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And moving on to foreign policy, the Pentagon is preparing a second aircraft carrier to deploy to the Middle East, pressuring Iran even further. And this is according to the Wall Street Journal. And if you guys watched yesterday's video, we saw that Bibi Netanyahu, in a meeting with Trump, urges Trump to attack Iran right now. And Trump said, I'd rather make a deal if it's possible. But it looks like he is setting up for that. And in other foreign policy news, let's look at Venezuela. Trump says relations between Venezuela and the United States have been, to put it mildly, extraordinary. We are dealing very well with President Delcy Rodriguez and her representatives. Oil is starting to flow, and large amounts of money unseen for many years will soon be greatly helping the people of Venezuela. Marco Rubio and all of our representatives are doing a fantastic job, but we only speak for ourselves and don't want there to be any confusion or misrepresentation. There is a story about a man named Harry Sargent III in the Wall Street Journal. He has no authority in any way, shape, or form to act on behalf of the United States of America, nor does anyone else that is not approved by the State Department. Without this approval, no one is authorized to represent our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And this is countering a Wall Street Journal report on Florida oil executive Harry Sargent III. He's a Trump donor and golfing associate, and Trump's clarifying he holds no official U.S. authority. So Trump is pushing back against the Wall Street Journal's portrayal of Sargent as someone who helped move the meter on U.S.-Venezuela relations, essentially claiming influence or a back-channel role in thawing ties, reopening oil flows, and positioning his business to benefit from Venezuela's energy sector after years of sanctions and Maduro's ouster. And in other foreign policy news, this is from the Office of the First Lady. It says, First Lady Melania Trump secures another Russian-Ukrainian child reunification. And Trump provides some updates on the economy. President Trump has ended the radical left's war on coal, and he's bringing it back stronger than ever. And this is a quote from Trump. It says, the most important people here today are those who get their hands a bit dirty to keep America running at full speed. Our frontline coal workers. In the first year of my presidency, real wages for the typical miner increased by more than $2,200. And speaking of wage increases, the White House says Trump is slashing regulatory red tape and freeing the American taxpayer from crushing regulations. And they post this statistic. There's been $2,400 saved per vehicle savings for new cars and trucks, thanks to the EPA's regulation cuts. And Trump reposted that. And so what are they talking about? Well, President Trump and EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced the end of the Obama-era endangerment finding, ending costly and useless vehicle emission rules, and eliminating the stop-start button and saving taxpayers $1.3 trillion. So let's see Trump announcing that.
In 4 years under the Biden administration, the price of a new and used car rose more than 22%, all to facilitate the Green New Scam without achieving any meaningful impact on the environment, but making the car worse. That is why, effective immediately, we are repealing the ridiculous endangerment finding and terminating all additional green emission standards imposed unnecessarily on vehicle models and engines between 2012 and 2027 and beyond. This action will save American consumers trillions of dollars and will lower the average cost of a new vehicle by close to $3,000.
And not only is Trump saving money through regulation cuts, Trump says he's delivering again as TrumpRx.gov brings immediate drug price relief to millions. And finally, to finish off, Trump says when Kevin Stitt, the very mediocre at best rhino governor of Oklahoma, was losing his election to a Democrat, primarily because he did a bad job, he called for my help, and I endorsed him. And he won. Sorry, my cherished Oklahoma, to have done that to you, President Donald J. Trump. And that was everything Trump said over the last 24 hours. It was actually a massive day. We saw Republicans defect and ban Trump's Canada tariffs, as well as pass the SAVE Act in the House. Those are both pending the Senate to approve them. We saw that he's sending another aircraft carrier to Iran, ramping up the pressure as Bibi Netanyahu yesterday urged him to attack Iran. And we saw him cut EPA standards on cars, saving American taxpayers $1.3 trillion. That's everything that Trump said today. As always, if you guys want to support the channel, consider subscribing because we're really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And if we could do that, it would be awesome. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.